Ever imagine yourself in the hot seat interviewing for a financial controller position?
Oh, I can only imagine the pressure.
Well, that's what we're diving into today. We found these real-life interview questions and answers, and let me tell you, they're a gold mine.
Oh, interview questions and answers, really. What makes these ones so special?
They're competency-based. None of that I'm a team player stuff. These are all about proving you can walk the walk.
Ah, so it's like show, don't tell, but for finance. I like it.
Yes.
Give me an example.
So picture this. It's reporting season, deadlines are looming, and suddenly a researcher appears needing a last-minute calculation.
Oh, I can feel the stress already.
And this actually happened to the controller we're learning from.
No way. How did they handle that curveball?
They stayed calm, cool, and collected, explained that it was a critical time for reports, offered to personally do the calculation after hours even.
Wow, talk about dedication.
Me.
But I bet they didn't stop there.
You know it. They used it as a teaching moment, explaining why those early requests are so crucial during reporting cycles.
Ah, so they addressed the immediate need, but also set the stage for smoother sailing in the future. Proactive. I like it.
Exactly. It's like that saying, give a man a fish.
You feed him for a day, teach a man to fish, you feed him for a lifetime.
Right. Or in this case, you save yourself a mountain of last-minute requests. Okay, ready for another scenario?
Hit me with it.
You're finalizing the budget, everything seems to be in order, and then, bam! You discover a missing staff member, an entire person unaccounted for.
Oh, no. That's not just a typo. That's a disaster waiting to happen.
Exactly. But again, it's the controller's reaction that's so impressive. Did they just quietly fix it and hope no one noticed?
I have a feeling the answer is no.
You know me too well. They used it as a chance to improve the entire budget review process, added a whole stage specifically for those big-ticket items like staffing costs.
It's smart. They turned a mistake into a system upgrade.
Exactly. From whoops to we've got this. But here's the thing. Catching errors is one thing, right? But then they have to turn around and explain all this to us, the non-financial wizards.
Ah, the art of making numbers makes sense. And that is a skill in itself. And that's where it gets interesting, right? Because numbers alone don't tell the whole story.
It's true. In fact, for a lot of us, too many numbers just make our eyes glaze over. So how does a controller bridge that gap?
It's all about communication.
Which they probably don't teach you in accounting class.
Probably not. This controller actually talked about presenting financial data to a group of managers. And not all of them were, numbers people.
Been there. So what did they do?
Instead of bombarding them with spreadsheets, they got visual. Created these really clear, concise diagrams showing financial trends over time.
Oh, interesting. So instead of just seeing raw data, these managers could actually see the company's financial journey.
Exactly. Let's say they're showing profits over the past 5 years, right?
Oh, yeah.
Instead of just a table, bam, a line graph. Instantly shows if profits are up, down, you get the picture.
Ah, so it's about telling the story behind the numbers, making it relatable even.
Exactly. And they even tackled a really tricky concept explaining accumulated capital versus just looking at, yearly results.
Mm-hmm. Okay, before we go any further, maybe a little refresher on accumulated capital for those of us who might need it.
Sure. It's essentially a snapshot of the company's net worth at a specific moment. Think of it like this. You might have a great year, income-wise, but that's just one piece of the puzzle.
Okay, I'm listening.
Accumulated capital is like looking at everything you own, your savings, your investments, minus any debts, your overall financial picture.
Ah, so it's the difference between my checking account balance today versus my entire net worth.
Got it. You got it. And this controller, to make it even more relatable, used the analogy of saving for a rainy day, right?
Mm-hmm.
You might have extra money one year, but you might need to dip into savings later.
Smart.
Same thing with companies. They might have a profitable year, but need that accumulated capital to cover future costs, debts, whatever comes up.
That actually makes perfect sense. They found a way to explain this potentially confusing financial concept in a way that we can all relate to.
Exactly.
But here's the thing. Even with clear communication, even with the best analogies, controllers don't work in isolation, right? They have to work with people.
That is so true. And that is where the real people skills come in.
So we've talked about crunching numbers, explaining it all in a way that makes sense. But what about the actual tools of the trade? This controller mentioned using some pretty specific software. ClickView, Hypergene, Oracle Essbase.
Yeah, those are some heavy hitters in the data world.
Definitely not your average spreadsheet software.
Exactly. And it makes sense, right? Controllers live and breathe data, so it's not surprising they'd be using sophisticated software to manage it all.
It's like, yeah, they have to know their way around a spreadsheet, but these days it's about so much more than that.
Absolutely. And what I found interesting was they mentioned using Skype for remote collaboration, and this was way before the pandemic made it the norm.
Oh, that's right. They were ahead of the curve on that one. Shows you they're adaptable.
Exactly. And that openness to new ways of working, it even extends to AI.
Okay, now we're getting to the really exciting stuff.
Right. Even though they admitted to only dabbling in AI tools like ChatGPT so far,
Still.
it shows they're thinking ahead,
Yeah.
trying to figure out how these new technologies can give them an edge.
Which is crucial in any field these days, but especially in finance. But even with all the fancy tech in the world, some challenges never go away. Like how to navigate conflict, when budgets are tight or there are sudden changes. Things get tense.
Oh, absolutely. You can be the most organized controller in the world, but you can't plan for everything.
Exactly. This controller actually talked about a time when a department head was really frustrated about being over budget.
Oof, I've been there. It's tough because everyone's feeling the pressure.
Right. So how did they handle that? How do you balance, holding the line on the budget, but also maintaining a good working relationship?
Well, they emphasized staying calm and, above all, collaborative.
Easier said than done when someone's upset about money.
Right. But instead of getting defensive, they actually scheduled a meeting to really dig into the numbers together.
Interesting. So it was like, let's figure this out as a team.
Exactly. And they really focused on understanding why the overspending was happening, not just pointing fingers.
Empathy in action.
And they didn't shy away from tackling the really tricky stuff either, like overhead costs.
Ugh. Overhead. Always a crowd pleaser.
Right. Because it can feel so disconnected from the work a specific department is doing.
It's like, why am I paying for this thing I don't even understand?
Exactly. And what's impressive is they used a multi-pronged approach to make it clear.
Like what?
So they provided verbal explanations, of course, but they also created official videos from the company explaining overhead.
Okay, so they actually made?
And then, get this, they even recorded their own custom videos specifically for their team.
Wow. That is dedication. That's above and beyond.
It is. But then there are those times when, no matter how well you explain things, stuff happens. Sudden budget changes. You have to pivot.
The only constant IS change, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's how you handle it that really matters. And what stood out to me was this controller's focus on transparency right from the start.
So instead of blindsiding people with these last-minute announcements...
They made sure everyone knew from day one that budgets are fluid, things can change.
Setting realistic expectations.
Exactly. It's all about adaptability.
It really is. We've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive, from the nitty-gritty of spreadsheets to the more human side of finance.
It's a balancing act for sure.
What really stands out to you about the role of a controller now?
Honestly, it's so much more than just numbers. It's about communication, problem solving, being adaptable.
And increasingly, it seems like it's about embracing technology. AI is changing everything.
It really is. It makes you wonder what the future holds for controllers,
Right. What happens when AI can handle all those routine tasks? Maybe it frees controllers up to focus on even bigger picture things, strategy, risk management.
Now, that is a deep dive for another day.
It certainly is. But for now, for all of you listening, keep asking those questions, keep exploring those possibilities, and we'll see you on the next deep dive.